Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the NIALPA podcast. We're so glad that you're here, and just want to remind you that in each of our episodes, we bring you voices from the field who are leading, innovating, and advocating for multilingual learners across our schools and systems. Today, I'm honored to welcome back Merica Clinkenbeard, who is currently serving as a president of NIALPA through July of this year. So she is in the home stretch of her presidency. Merica has been a strong advocate for multilingual learners and a dedicated leader within NIALPA, helping guide the organization's work and vision during this very important time in the field. So Merica, thank you so much for coming back.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Jody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So to get us started, if you just had a couple of minutes to share with someone why they should join NIALPA.
Why should you join NIALPA? Well, how about I give you reasons not to join NIALPA?
Okay, that works too.
If you enjoy being very isolated in your work and in your field, then we're not for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not like getting cutting edge information and staying on top of what's going on, then you probably don't want to be part of NIALPA.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not enjoy being around people who are the leading researchers, that are dynamic and wanting to be helpful in anything that you do, then you probably don't want to be part of NIALPA. And if you do not want to get a lot of professional learning and professional growth for yourself, then you probably don't want to be part of NIALPA. And if you're a program leader and you've got it all figured out and you have no barriers and you've run into no problems, first of all, I want your number.
Yeah, me too.
Second of all, we probably need you in NIALPA because we need to pick your brain.
Mm-hmm.
But really, Jody, that's what NIALPA is all about, is none of us can do it all.
Yeah.
And there's so many multiple talents within our organization, and that together we can do it all. And that's what I found out, is there's so many different people and talents and different entities and people representing different organizations, not just state agencies and not just local education agencies, that you can just find a little bit of everything. And so you can always fill in gaps or knowledge gaps or support that you need, no matter what it is you're looking for. And it just doesn't become like a peer resource, but becomes your friends too. So
yeah, it's an amazing network. And I love how you flipped the script on that and talked about all the reasons why you wouldn't necessarily want to become a member. And I don't know many people that really fit any of those criteria that you mentioned. So I think NIALPA
I don't
for
either,
everyone.
but if that's where you're at, then we are not for you, right?
Yeah. Well, thinking back to your year as president of NIALPA, what have been some of the biggest priorities or focus areas for the organization during your leadership?
I feel like our biggest priorities have just been deciding what are we going to do right now and finding the positives and what can we do with what we have within our current environment. So let's all band together. And Jody, I know you've been a part of a lot of these initiatives, but let's all come together more than we ever have and work together and find solutions and positives and progress within what we have that is still in existence and what we can keep going with. And that has really been the focus of this whole year. And I think we've seen some results from some of that and have created some key resources from that with all of our organizations bonding together. And I think that's really helped a lot of our key organizations learn more about each other as well and create more of those collaborative opportunities.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point. Sometimes it is easy when things are shifting as quickly as they are in our field and things are starting to maybe unravel a bit with supports that we've been used to having at the federal level. So it gets very sort of unnerving for educators and leaders in the field to then know what to grab onto. But I think you bring up a really important point. We have a sphere of influence and control within our own space, whatever our role is, whatever whatever our day-to-day job is. And then above and beyond that, we have a sphere of control within our communities, our networks. And I think if we, to your point, if we can focus on the things we can control, the things we can influence, instead of staying laser focused on the things that all of a sudden feel like they're out of our control and aren't supportive and aren't going to be able to help us continue to grow the way we want to and support our students and families the way we want to. I think just shifting that mindset is so important, because it is really easy to get overwhelmed and sort of get sucked into the negative, right? Especially when there's so much of it happening around us in education. So I love that you kind of just remind us with a call to action to stay focused on what we can control, the sphere of influence we have, stay positive about the work that we're doing. So when you think about,
stand out of the reactive mode and let's just be solution focused.
Yeah. So from your perspective, you talked a little bit just about kind of in your initial sort of pitch around why would we join or why would we not join NIALPA. Why is it so important for us to have this network? What does a network and a professional community like NIALPA do for us individually as educators, whether we're teachers in a classroom, building administrators, state education agency leaders, or just national, organization members or leaders? What does a network do for us from your perspective?
It's that saying, it's hard to see the forest from the trees. When you're the one in it, it's really hard sometimes to see things when you're so inundated with your own work. And that's what's so nice, is when you can have someone within the NIALPA network to talk you through something, and they can see something that you can't, not because you're not capable, but you're so inundated and weighed down with that work and doing all the other things that they're able to step outside of that for you, because it's so hard and it's so tiring. And we're also taking on the emotional things that are happening with our families and our students. We have a very high refugee population, and they have lost all of their benefits within the last month. And so we are having to work with all of those things as well. And so when you pile all of those variables on top of everything else you're dealing with, sometimes it's really hard to sort through all of that. And so when you can rely on someone that's not in it and can be a little bit more abstract for you and help you through that thinking, it can be very helpful. Mm-hmm. I'm always good at solving somebody else's problems. So I like to rely on other district directors to say, hey, what would you do? What is your perspective? I was on the phone with somebody not too long ago, just say, walk me through this. I'm going to show you everything I'm doing. What would you do? I've gone to not just my state leader, but other state directors within NIALPA, other members that are in NIALPA that aren't just local directors or state directors, just asking for advice and asking for help. And not one person ever says, I don't have time for that. I can't help you. And that's so comforting to know that somebody's always going to be there. Mm-hmm. Always.
Yeah, that's definitely something that having that network of, different perspectives and just people that you can call on when you need that extra support. It's so powerful to have just a Rolodex of phones, folks on your phone that you can call up, or an email that you can shoot out real quick just to get that extra help and support no matter what it is. So how have you seen, just throughout your time with NIALPA, how have you seen NIALPA as an organization help educators, leaders, or systems better support their multilingual learners? What is NIALPA doing that really is evidence of that type of support?
A couple of things just most recently. I think our advocacy component, which our AMP committee has been working on, is going to be extremely useful. I know that I've used several parts of the first couple of webinars that have been put on. Our LEA committee has been working on Title I components that pertain specifically for multilingual learners, so that school districts and directors such as myself have those specific components to use and have that knowledge base. So when they're at their districts, they say, no, these portions of Title I are meant specifically for multilingual learners. Those are very concrete things that I know that at the district level that are needed. And again, that advocacy piece that the AMP committee is working on is something that everybody, no matter if they're district level, LEA level, or our members that are work in other entities in the industry can use. Our professional learning committee has put on some amazing webinars lately. I used one of their webinars in my staff meeting for professional learning the other day. So I think that everybody is working in tandem to be very timely and very intentional and cognizant of what we are putting out there for the needs of what everybody is needing in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm thinking just about how with the rapid pace of change in our educational landscape over this last year, just how much misinformation is out there, because I hear it everywhere, with the rescinding the Dear Colleague letter, and then people thinking that automatically just, unraveled all of the laws that were part of the guidance in that letter. And so I think there's just been a lot of misinformation, and I do think that the support that NIALPA provides around just giving, like you said, timely information, educating people on what all of it means as we start to see these shifts. I think that has been absolutely, a life-saving support for a lot of our district leaders and community members who are trying to figure out, like, how do we still advocate for our multilingual learners in spite of all of these different, like, messages that we're getting, maybe from the federal level or just, from a policy standpoint. So I think NIALPA has done an amazing job of stepping up this year and really helping people navigate what's been a really chaotic and difficult year in education, for sure.
I think so too. And I think it's important that people know the truth and they know the facts. And I know that when I run my department meetings, I always like to share with my team, this is what's going on at the federal level. This is what's going on at the state level, so that when they do hear things that are not aligned with that, they do have the correct language or the correct knowledge. And they do know really what is going on, whether it's good to hear or not. Education is powerful, and we want to know factually what is happening and not sensationalize anything.
Right.
Sensationalizing things does not help anyone. So we want to be very purposeful and cognizant in the knowledge that we have, so that we can use it intentionally and in the best way for our families and our students. Because if we don't take that information and use it responsibly, we're not going to be able to help our families and advocate for them in the way that is going to benefit them the best.
Right, exactly. So as your presidency comes to a close in just a couple months, what's one piece of advice that you would give your predecessor, so the incoming president, what's a piece of advice that you would give her? And then what is a piece of advice you would just give all of our listeners and viewers today?
What I would tell Stephanie, and what I was going to tell her, you know what I wish I had done? And it's too late. I started in NIALPA in the Professional Learning Committee, so I'm familiar with that committee. I had to back off because there's so many meetings at this level, and me being a district director for LEA, there's just meetings during the day are extremely hard. So this has been a huge commitment on my part, because when you are at a district, there's just so many district things, right? But I attended an AMP committee meeting, and I've never been to one of their meetings before, and I loved it. I loved learning more about their committee. I loved seeing the people that were on the committee. A lot of these were people that I had just met at the conference and didn't realize they were on the committee. And then it was like, I'm going to go to every committee meeting before my presidency is over. And I only had like this month to do it, which is the month of May. School's getting out. That's impossible. I'm trying to close out the year, have summative meetings with, I supervise my staff. So it's impossible to do. But in hindsight, as president, I wish I had intentionally attended at least one, if not two, every committee meeting, just to listen and be just to hear it and to meet more people
Yeah.
in that capacity. And that would have been really hard, again, as a district director, because there are so many meetings already that I have to be in.
Yeah.
I do attend the conference planning committee meetings, and so there already are a lot of meetings. So number one, that would be my advice to Stephanie, is to start early and try to attend at least one of every committee meeting, because I really wish I'd thought of that sooner. I think that would have been a really good move for a president.
What advice would you give everyone who's listening in and watching this episode?
I would advise you, if you're not a member of NALPA yet, to join. And when you join, to join a committee, because it really is the best way to feel connected. And sometimes people think, no, wait, no, I'm going to be inundated. You're going to try to pile a lot of things on me. I can promise you, when you join a committee, it can be seasonal, right? We appreciate you when you're on a committee, and we know it's all volunteer. We know we all have our other jobs. And so it's okay if you can participate now, but not here. It's not one of those things that once you join, people are going to pressure you and get mad if you're not at a meeting or expect you to do all the things. And so I encourage you to join if you're not a member. If you are a member and are not a member of a committee, I encourage you to join a committee, because it really does enhance the experience of NALPA and lets you be involved and have that feeling of knowing people more.
Yeah, and that's really great advice. I was also just going to share that that's one thing that I really appreciate about NALPA over the years, is just the continued growth, the addition of many, subcommittees that didn't exist when I was part of NALPA. So I just have really enjoyed watching NALPA grow and continue to think about expansion opportunities for these types of committees. So I love that.
We just added a dual language committee.
Yeah. Every year I feel like something else new is coming on board and coming online. And so, just huge shout out to NALPA for continuing to make that commitment. And then a shout out to everybody that's a member now that serves on those committees, because as Merica said, it's without everybody volunteering, we wouldn't be able to do this work. So huge shout out to everybody who steps up and takes on some additional advocacy and responsibility. But Merica, I just want to say thanks again for coming on and having a conversation with me.
It was a pleasure.
And then thank you for your leadership, not just as president of NALPA, but just, as a leader in your community, your advocacy, your commitment to multilingual learners, and all the educators who serve them. Your impact through NALPA has been deeply meaningful. And we're so grateful for everything that you've contributed both to the organization and the field in general. So just want to also thank all of our podcast listeners and viewers. And if today's conversation inspired you, we encourage you to stay connected with NALPA, become a member if you're not, and continue learning alongside this incredible community of educators and leaders. So until next time, keep leaning in on NALPA and the voice of multilingual learners across the country. Thank you, Merica.
Thank you. Bye.